Hi there and welcome to my channel. Today's project is for the Vicki design team, and today I'm going to create a layout that is all about using mixed media and pattern paper. This is one of the questions that I get asked the most. How can I add mixed media on pattern paper? So I'm going to show you a fun and cool idea. So I've pulled out two pictures of my daughter and our baby. This is New Year's Day, and I'm actually going to use pattern paper for my background. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to add a way to create color, dimension, and interest onto the background. So I'm going to go through my stencils. I'm actually went through a few of them and decided to go with the stencil from the wildflower and honey collection, and it's this one that has, it looks like a rhomboid that has this design inside. I just wanted something linear for the background. Now the paper that I've chosen for the background is the Stardust paper from the Storyteller collection. The paper features, I'm gonna say, like a soft typewriter print on the background. There's a bit of distress. It's like kind of a minty green typewriter impression on the paper, and with the distress it makes it look like gray on the page, but it makes it look like a total neutral. So it's a perfect the B sides of Storyteller are super neutral, so they're perfect to create backgrounds. Now, to create the dimension and to add the mixed media to this page, I'm actually gonna use and you can use, I'm using gesso, but you can use texture paste, you can use any of the glazes. I'm gonna suggest that you add something that brings texture, and the way you're gonna apply it is by running the paste so that you fill the entire impression of the stencil. So you're gonna see that I've lined my stencil so that the inner edge or the edge of the stencil is lined up to the left edge of the paper, and I am running gesso so that I cover the entire rectangular part of the inside of the stencil. So I'm gonna get that really sharp definition. I want to make sure that I have sharp edges, and a crisp impression. So I'm gonna make sure that when I add my gesso, I only go one way. And what I mean by that is I'm gonna run the gesso just one way. So I'm placing the gesso at the top, and then I'm running it down from the top down. That way I'm just gonna avoid having the gesso kind of leak underneath the stencil and just kind of fuzz up as a crisp image that I'm trying to create. Now I'm gonna make sure that once that's ready, I'm gonna take my stencil, I'm gonna clean it completely, I'm gonna make sure that it dry completely, and then I'm gonna create the second impression using gesso on the opposite side of the paper, symmetrical to where it was located. So I want a straight line with an empty space in the middle. Now one of the things that you have to keep in mind is that to create this, I am using pattern paper that is come from a single stock, and what that means is that this is pattern paper that does not come from the paper pad. The paper pad paper is thinner than all the papers. It's just because the fact that you're getting a good price on the paper pad, to make it valuable, they have to give up on the quality of the paper. So it's thinner paper. So that means that when you add the mixed media, because there's moisture in any of the glazes that you add, the paper is gonna soak it up and it's gonna buckle. I'm gonna say a little bit extra than what everything else will do. So you're gonna see right now I'm using single stock pattern paper. I've added my gesso. My paper, there's a little bit of a buckle, but pretty much it's flat. If I had used foundation paper, this would be completely flat. But if you use paper from the paper pad, you're gonna have waves on your paper, and the second part is gonna make it, and you won't have a crisp impression of your images. Just because after you add the first part of it, the second part you will have the wave already. It will not get a crisp impression. So I'll suggest, if you can afford it, then you go ahead and use a single stock paper for this sort of mixed media. Now, one of the reasons that I added gesso or that if you want to add any texture paste, this will be a great place to add the texture paste. It's because I want to color it. In this case, I am using art crayons to color the impression, and I'm using my stencil brush. The way I'm going to go about it is I'm going to scribble the crayon, and I'm using warm tones for the left hand side of my layout, and I'm going to use the neutral set for the right hand side of my layout. I want to create kind of a diagonal ombre effect on each one of the gesso applications. I'm starting with the peach crayon on the top right corner of this left hand side part of my layout, and then slowly I'm gonna work to, I'm gonna add peach, and then I'm gonna a mixture of peach and maroon, then I'm going to maroon, then I'm gonna add a mixture of of maroon with fuchsia, and then I'm gonna add pink fuchsia. So slowly I'm working from the top right corner of my stencil to the bottom left corner of the stencil, and you're gonna see that slowly the colors are changing. Now, one of the downfalls is because you're coloring gesso, and gesso is white, it's gonna take a little bit of extra color. So you're gonna see once I applied all the colors one way, and what I mean by one way is like I fill up the entire stenciled area. I'm gonna go back, but I'm gonna work the opposite way just because I have that already on my brush. So I'm gonna start with fuchsia, and I'm just gonna go on top of the area that I've already added the color, just to accent the color. And all I'm doing is scribbling the crayon on a piece of acetate. This is just the cover of the foundation paper, and then I'm gonna pick up the pigment with my stencil brush in a circular motion, and then I'm gonna transfer the pigment that is in the brush onto the paper through the stencil, going in a circular motion. And all I'm gonna do is color all the texture area that I had on the stencil, and that's what I went with a linear stencil because it's easier to kind of center and keep everything in place. So I've done my peach part, and then I'm gonna repeat it onto the other side, the same idea, but I'm actually gonna work with the neutral set. And these are the two pictures that I'm documenting. This is January 1st of this year. That's my daughter and our baby. And the time that I took the picture, I think it was lunchtime. Right now we're having work done in our balcony, so we have no balcony. We are literally locked inside of our apartment just because we have no balcony. So in case of an accident, we have actually, the balconies are bordered from the outside the door that leads to the balcony, and our dog loves to kind of go out in the sun. So what my daughter's been doing is carried him so he can see from the window out, and they always do that. So when I took the picture, the sun was filtering in, so I have that quite a bit of yellow on the top left corner of the layout. So I'm gonna bring those colors to the right of the layout, and because my daughter is wearing red, that's what I chose, those pink tones for the left hand side. So like I said, going back to the layout, the right hand side of the gesso application is going to get yellow tones, and I am using the neutral set of art crayons to do that. I'm starting with that ochre kind of goldish tone that comes in the set, and again I'm going to work it this time from the top left corner of the stenciled area to the bottom right corner. So I'm starting with the yellow, kind of like I said, like goldish tone, and then I'm gonna add a little bit of that terracotta crayon just to create more of an orangey tone, and I'm gonna end up, there's a maroonish kind of reddish tone in this set that is gonna give me that deep kind of orange tone that I'm looking for. So again, from the top to the bottom, you're gonna see from light to dark, and that it's all gonna take, and because it's a dry application, this is set to go. So all I'm gonna do right now is just dilute the extra bit of crayon that I have on my little piece of plastic, and then just add some splatters onto the layout. And I'm gonna do the same with the pink tones. I'm gonna set that aside to kind of set a little bit the little droplets that I added, and I'm gonna start working on the pictures. And I'm gonna keep it fairly simple just because I have already that interest on the background. So one of the things I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the two pictures together. To do that, and make sure that they don't move, I'm adding a piece of washi tape behind them. That's just gonna keep them in place. I'm gonna add a little bit of foam adhesive behind the pictures. I wanna add that bit of a left and then I'm gonna frame the picture with the B side of the assemblage paper. And the assemblage paper is the one that has all the circles at the front, and the back has this kind of purplish tone, and I just want to make sure that there's a tone that kind of frames the picture and makes them pop from the page. After that, I'm actually gonna layer a paper behind it, and the rainbow is the rainbow paper, that's the sequence paper, and I'm gonna make sure that I set my page save my picture in the paper so that I have the same tones that I have on the background. So I'm gonna make sure that the yellow stripe of color sits on the right of the pictures, and that kind of reddish tone sits on the left of the pictures, so that they kind of color blocks with the background. So once I have that in place, my idea is actually I'm gonna use this piece of ephemera. It says Lost in a Daydream, and it was perfect size for the two pictures. I think they are size to 3x4, a little bit smaller, so they were the perfect size. And I'm gonna take advantage of those florals that are in that ruler just to create my clusters. So because the ruler that I'm adding for the subtitle already comes with flowers, I need to add another flower to the top left corner of my pictures just to balance it out. So there's a little base of this purple base with a little bunch of florals in the ephemera pack. I'm gonna cut down the base and just use the florals. That pink tone of the proteas kind of matches the same tone that I have on the left hand side of my layout. So I pretty much done my layout. I'm just gonna bulk up the embellishments. So I'm bringing the little daisy, just because it has that yellowish tone, onto the bottom of the pictures. I am gonna fussy cut some leaves, but I'm gonna go in the 6x8. I don't want large leaves. I just want them smaller. I don't want them to overtake the page. So I just want them as little details coming out from behind the subtitle. So once I fussy cut, I'm just gonna put them there, and then at the top part of the layout I need to add another flower. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it from the 6x8. I'm gonna cut one of the flowers. I'm gonna make sure that I cut one that has a little bit of red and peach, just because I have those tones on the background. And then I'm gonna also add a few more of the same leaves that I cut to the bottom part of the layout. After that is all gonna be about adding small details. So you're gonna see that I'm just gonna go into the sticker tablet and bring a few tabs. I'm gonna bring some geo tags, I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to take away from the background. One of the downfalls of adding pattern paper in the background is that you already have a visual, you're starting with a visual interest. So you don't want to add a lot more to it, just because then it's gonna become very confused. So you're gonna see that I'm just gonna add a small accents. I'm gonna add a title, and I kind of struggled a little bit with the title until I found it in the chipboard that says Tell Your Story, and it fit right in the center of the two Yeso applications, so it was perfect. And then all I'm gonna do is add some sentiments, some yellow on the yellow part of the stencil area, some kind of pinkish red on that left hand side of the layout, and then I'm gonna tie these three areas, the title and the two clusters, with butterflies. So I am using the butterflies that come in the chipboard stickers. I want that peach one at the bottom of the title just because it sits in that peach area. I want that black one on the yellow because there's no yellow butterflies, and I thought the black is just gonna accent the pictures. And then I'm gonna pull two little ones from the tablet, from the sticker tablet, and I'm gonna add them on the top left corner of the layout just to help it elongate it. And slowly I created kind of a zigzag in the page. After that, I needed to add a line, add my lines with journal, and because the background is busy and already has a print, I need to kind of haze an area where I can write them. Trust me, I tried working different ways that I could add maybe a tag, but I did not want to cover the Yeso application. So the best way I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna add a little bit of Yeso, and just kind of softly paint the area underneath the title. It's gonna haze the background, and then I'm gonna use that to add my lines of journal. That's about it. Super simple. Love how this layout turned out. I don't know if it reads nicely on the on the camera, but the background is very neutral, and because the application has color, texture, and dimension, it just pops from the page. It kind of takes away from the background, and I love how this turned out. I hope you try it. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. Jump onto the blog to see more details if you want to see close-ups, and thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you soon, hopefully next week. Take care, guys.